So within Fusion, if you ever wonder why the design timeline is not available, this is because most likely you work with generic file types. As you can see over here, we can work with IGES, step files, STL, and these will not contain timeline information. Let's talk about the timeline information. So we see it over here on the bottom. And if, for example, I will create a sketch, as soon as I define the sketch, this will be recorded within a timeline as sketch 1. If I will add, for example, an extrude, we're going to see that the extrude will be added separately. So as soon as I will click OK, we're going to have that added over here. And the main advantage of the timeline is that we can always roll back within that. So we can have the sketch over here, and afterwards we can have the extrude added. Even though I roll back this all the way to the sketch is not visible. This is because the sketch has already been used within the extrude. Therefore, it has been hidden. So you can always enable it over here. So now we're going to have that extrude, but also the sketch visible within the viewport. So keep that in mind. Also, I want to talk about forms over here because the history design for this is a little bit different. For example, if I will create a form over here, and maybe I will create a second cylinder somewhere over here, we're going to see that the form will be added over here. Again, we're going to have form 1, since this is the first one, just like extrude and sketch. If I will create a second form, that will become 2, so it will add incremental. But if I'm gonna do a change to this form, for example, I will select the top over here and I will make it narrower. We're gonna see that within the history, this will not be added because t-spline modeling within Fusion does not have a parametric history. So keep that in mind. And if I will click on finish form, again, that form will be added over here just as a single feature. Now, if you want to disable the design history, you can always right-click the main component and set it to not capture design history. We're going to have the following warning: the timeline and all design history will be removed. So in this case, all of those. Also, further operations will not be captured within a timeline. So if I will hit continue, we're going to see our timeline has disappeared from the screen. And now if I will add, for example, another sketch, I will draw a rectangle over here and I will have this extruded. I'm going to see that I don't have that information anymore. So that timeline for the design history has been removed. We can always activate it by going again with right click and set the capture design history button over here. If I will do this, we're going to see that in this case, since I also have a form and also some parametric elements, the parametric elements have all been merged within the same base feature 1, and that will be the starting point for this part now. But we're also going to have the form over here separately. Now, if I want to add a new sketch, maybe over here on top, I want to create a circle. I want to extrude this. Again, we're going to have the same timeline just like before. We have the sketch and we have the feature over here. And all of those will be added after the base feature, as we can see over here. We also have the form over here, which if I will right click, I can see that I have the possibility to edit this form, just like I have the possibility to edit sketches and features. The main difference is that if I will edit this form, we're going to see the form over here. For example, maybe I want to add a separate secondary surface over here. So I will just extrude this. I will hold down Alt and I will increase the neck of the bottle, for example, over here. If I will click OK and I will click finish form, we're going to see that this will automatically roll back to the original form over here. So even though I went over here and I changed this, as we can see, it's different. When I will click finish form, since I added the design history just starting from this point, we're going to see that all those changes will no longer be available within the viewport. So if I will check the body section over here, we're gonna have the separate body over here, but it will be hidden. So keep that in mind. This will be the original bottle, so body 2, and body 4 will be the new freeform, which has been converted to a surface, as we can see over here. Okay, so even though we didn't enable that design history, freeforms within Fusion, as you can see, will act a little bit differently. Now, let's take a look at working directly with step files, because this is the problem that most users encounter with the design history. I will go over here to File, and since I want to add a step file, I will go directly and open this. I will not add it as a reference, so this will be mostly for STL and OBJ files, so such as meshes. But if you are working with a step file, which is a parametric CAD model, we're gonna go with File Open. I will select this from my computer, and this will be the bottle finish over here. So I have that open. As we can see, Fusion opened that within a new component over here. And again, by default, we don't have that design history. If, for example, I will select this section and I will want to do a projection over here to capture those sketches, I will finish the sketch and I want to have this extruded. We're going to see that the timeline is not enabled. So every time you open a step file, keep in mind that the design history will not be added. You will need to right click, enable the capture design history, and only afterwards I recommend you to start working on the model. If you're gonna do this, you're gonna have the history for that, and it will be easier, because otherwise, if you wanna decide that, okay, this extrude, I wanna change that length, in this case I can change it. Since this is a simple extrude, I can just go with extrude and do the cut in order to reach the desired dimension. So then we're gonna have that as an editable feature over here. So we're gonna see this will be the original design, but only after I did that extrusion. Then we're gonna have the secondary cut over here. And if you wanna, for example, wanna define a bottle, you can start with a form design and you can work with that. For example, for a revolve. And I will do a separate video regarding bottle design within Fusion. Okay, so I hope that you find this video useful. I know that most people encounter problems with this, since by default Fusion will just have the design history disabled for generic files. So if you enjoy this kind of content, please consider to give this video a thumbs up. Also consider to subscribe for more similar content. So that's it. Thanks for watching.